if you are not this kind of friend to me as my white friend, I don't know if we can keep being friends. There was a group of cops harassing individuals, and this individual stood up and displayed how to use privilege correctly. Here it is.
Get in the car. Get in the car. Get in the car.
Yeah,
get in the car. Get in the car.
I'm not gonna move until you move.
Get in the car.
I need you to move away
get
from
in the car. Get in the car. I need you to get in the car. Yeah, that's
This is public space.
Get the car, tough guy. Ha 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 ha. Get the car, tough guy. Get the car, tough guy. That's what I saw you, coward. You coward. Get in the car too now, you coward. Get the out of here. Yeah, you saw you all. You gotta get back in the car now, you
Step back.
You step back.
Thank you.
You step back.
I want you to
You
get
step back.
Move.
Well, you move. You move.
I'm not moving.
You move.
I'm telling you
not
to move.
moving. I'm not moving. Public space, bro. What's up?
Okay, don't spin my
Don't spin my face. Don't spin my face. Don't spin my face. You don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't. Right? You don't care about public safety, bro. Get the out of here.
Right.
Get the out.
I'm not getting paid.
Get the out. Get the out. Get the in the car. Get the out.
Okay.
Get the out. Stop shooting people. Get the out of here.
Okay.
Get the out, you losers. LAPD shot and killed. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get the out.
Damn. Let me remind you, according to the report, these officers, they were just harassing individuals in that locality. We're talking about the LAPD. And this one white male decided he was tired of it. He got up and started telling them to get the hell up out of there and stop harassing everybody else. This was on a public boardwalk. The man is being praised for using his white privilege for good. But let's be very clear. This would not have happened the same way if a black male would have got up in those officers' faces and said the exact same thing. This would not have happened the same way if a brown male did something like that. Hell, I don't think it would have happened this way if a woman said what this guy said to these cops, okay? Let me read some of these comments from Twitter that came out because of this incident. Emasculation Proclamation says, I have zero time for whites who have anything less than this energy. Michael E. Hobson says, I really need my white comrades to address the police like this all of the time. Trust me, you will be fine. But all jokes aside, really you laugh not to cry. It shows the very clear, unequal reaction. We're not even talking about treatment. Let's just talk about regular reaction. The unequal reaction when you are another person dealing with the police. Adrienne?
I think you're spot on that this is a display of white privilege. And I do definitely commend that man for using his voice because he stepped in knowing that he was the right melanin count and probably just also the right gender, that he could put that harassment, he could stop that low-key brutality starter kit right there in its tracks. And he used his voice to accomplish just that. And as we saw with the officers backing down where they knew that they were in the wrong, that is something only a white man could have done. And for him to do that, it's powerful. And I really hope that that resonates with the people out there because a lot of people are just too afraid to even to talk to their family members about racism and to stand up. And this man is out here in the street standing up to cops. It's just this full communication of clearly people can do better. So why don't you do better too?
And you know this, Adrienne, working in your profession, if the police officers were in the right, they would have enforced their authority to do exactly what they were already doing. But they knew they were in the wrong. But that's not all it takes. They can know they're in the wrong, but if you're not a person they respect in the community, they're not going to listen to your proclamation that you're in the wrong. They're not going to listen to anything you say. But they listen to him. I had a guy break down something to me one time, and very wise guy. And he said, the reason why privilege works for cops is because cops assume that whiteness is connected to status and authority. They make that assumption. And they assume that black is not. That is their baseline assumption as soon as they interact with a person of color or a person who is white. Do you agree with that assessment on this face value?
Yeah, it's not just cops. This is how our world works. Everybody has that implicit or explicit assumption that's operating in their mind. It's the same thing when it comes to gender, also class status. If that man was dressed truly slovenly and he appeared to be unhoused, I don't think they would have respected him. The fact is that we do have these biases that mount up in our head, and it dictates how we interact with others in this world. I have had situations where cops have approached me, and generally when they approach me, I don't have a problem. Why? Because they hear the way in which I speak and I hold myself. So they can tell this woman here is not just some everyday black woman, that this person probably comes with some kind of backing in some way. And the thing is they should be treating everyone fairly and equally and with respect. But unfortunately, that is not how our society operates at all. And it doesn't just end with the police.
Back in the 1980s, a sociologist came up with a theory called the social impact theory. And in that social impact theory breakdown, it says that part of how you are able to influence people is your status. But really, when you go deeper, what the sociologist meant was perceived status. So if a rich person tells you how to make $1 million, your ears listen. If a homeless person gives you the exact same advice, your ears do not listen. Because you're looking at social status as a prerequisite to the influence and the information. And you're right that everybody should be treated equally. And what we see in our humanity, now in humanity, there will always be this, discrimination, prejudice. That's going to be there. We have to work hard as a human race to eradicate that from amongst our ranks. But we can literally hold people accountable who we're paying. We can do that. We're talking about systems and institutions. We're talking about statutes and laws. We're talking about policies and procedures. We can hold people accountable in that way quickly. We don't have to wait for it to permeate over years. We can start doing that kind of work today. And I think that's where a lot of conservatives, they try to dissuade you from the argument by saying, well, the law isn't gonna eliminate racism. Well, that's not what the law is supposed to do. It's supposed to hold racist people accountable. That's what it's supposed to do. Hopefully expose them to where they're not in that position of authority anymore. So there are policies that can be implemented. I wonder, what do you think is going to happen, Adrienne? Because you know the culture of policing. They're probably, when they went back to their precinct, they probably got clowned as soon as this went viral.
Yeah, more than likely, because essentially a lot of these interactions between police and members of the public, they are showings of power and displays of power as opposed to actually substantively doing your job and enforcing the law. And so if you cannot continue to maintain that unstate sanctioned, I should say, dominance, then you are laughable in the eyes of a lot of law enforcement.